Hey, Dr. Karen Can here, and welcome to another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest. I am currently in Hawaii in the middle of the Wellness Leadership Academy's Authorship Acceleration Program. So we've been busy bees working on our future best-selling books. I did want to take some time to share some really important spiritual information with you this week. So please forgive the fuzzy camera. I just brought my small laptop to take a video today. And okay, so let's just dive right in. So two things I want to share with you in the healing realm that may be important for your life. So the first thing is, let me tell you a little story about the symptom that I had and then how I discovered this. So I noticed over the last short while, weeks, months, that I've been having this really subtle but intermittent kind of rashy thing going on in my lips. And another light being Starseed that I know also had something similar, and her lip was swelling and things like that. And I thought that's odd that we both have it at the same time. Now, light being Starseeds are human beings that their soul used to be part of a being that was just pure light, so they didn't have a body. So when light being Starseeds get incarnated into a physical body, sometimes there are some interesting physical glitches that occur as the ascension process happens on Earth here, and we have higher and higher energies, and light being starseeds just kind of go, woo, yeah, I love that big energy, I love that high energy. And sometimes their bodies have a little bit of difficulty, sometimes a lot of difficulty, kind of catching up to their high vibration and light. So I was having this kind of symptom, and noticed that, my client also had the symptom. So it had gotten better when I was in Hong Kong last week, and then suddenly kind of flared up again out of the blue this week. Now, you could argue maybe it's the water in Hawaii versus Hong Kong, or the food, or whatever it is. But I went to work doing Topogan healing to do some divine vessel testing to test exactly what was the problem here, or what's the issue, what do I have to learn. So what came up was something I call energetic incompatibility, or testing how compatible I was as a whole to something or another substance. So in my case, I found that I was energetically incompatible with 3 different things that I had been in contact with recently. Now, in this case, it's energetic compatibility scoring, if you will, between myself, all of myself, and this other substance or thing. In this case, one thing was actually a lipstick. Now, this is a natural lip gloss that I use from a particular company, really like, never had problems with it. But it seems to me lately that if I use this lip gloss or natural lip color, that this rash seems to get worse. So I stopped using it and have now been basically using shea butter and stuff. If my lips aren't red or colored, that's probably why. So that was the other thing. The next substance that I was not fully compatible with was eggs. And it's really interesting because lately, over the last month and a half or so, I just really haven't wanted eggs. Now, if eggs were cooked in some sort of baked good or something, that would be fine, but I just really didn't have any desire to eat eggs, despite its nutrition factor and how great local eggs, organic eggs are, and so on and so forth. But I didn't really want it, and that may be my intuition just telling me don't eat eggs, at least until we find the stuff out. And then the third substance was very interesting. I was energetically incompatible. In fact, it was like the lowest compatibility, like 40% or something, or 30% actually, to Evian bottled water. And what was very interesting is I don't think my husband was very compatible energetically either, because when we were at the airport, one of the airports we were in, I think it was Taipei, that's all they sold as far as bottled water, and it's not my favorite brand. I don't really like the taste, but we bought it anyway because it's worse to be dehydrated during the flight. So both of us was drinking this water that we didn't like the taste of, and we just kept going to the bathroom. Like, it just did not absorb in our bodies at all, or didn't seem to. And just, it's so interesting to find out that my energetic compatibility with that brand of water was so low. So after I got percentages for each of these things, then I found out there was nothing else I needed to know, which is typical of Topican healing. We just ask, do we need to know more? And if we don't, then we go ahead and do a Topican healing directive. So the directive I did was something more along the lines of, I now command that I become energetically compatible with Evian water, eggs, and lipstick, such and such a brand of lipstick, in the highest and best way, all directions of time, with ease and grace. And then I rechecked the numbers, and sure enough, I was over 95% compatible. Now, my lips do definitely feel better today, although it's still healing. There's a little bit of, crustiness when I woke up this morning after the healing I did last night, but definitely is feeling better today. So hopefully that will continue. But I think it's a really interesting thing to just check in to say, hey, am I energetically incompatible with anything that I'm in contact with? Or the other question you can ask in divine muscle testing is a how many question. So that's part of our quality question training. So how many things am I energetically incompatible with? Or how many things am I energetically compatible less than 95% with? That's probably incorrect grammar, but you know what I mean, right? So there's different ways of asking it. And in this case, I used a how many question. How many things is my body less than 95% compatible with? And got there 3 things. And then I went to ask, is it something that I wear? Is it something I put on my skin? In this case, I suspected the lipstick, so I said the lip gloss. Is it something I eat? In this case, it was yes. It was eggs. Is it something that my skin is in contact with? Something that I drink? Yes, it was water. So you can ask all these different kinds of questions. Now, you could be energetically incompatible with your car, with your clothes, with a person, with your furniture, with EMF frequencies. It could be all sorts of things. So you have to be a little creative in how you get your answers. But if you go into stillness, okay, now my technique that I talk about is called stillum, stillness through observing internal movement. If you go into that stillness, feel the inside of your body, feel the vibration, you'll get to a point where your mind is still, and then the answer will drop in for you. Whether you believe that's your angels talking or whatever, it doesn't really matter, but oftentimes an image or a sound or voice or however you hear intuition or sense intuition will drop in. And for me, sometimes I'll literally, the word that I need just pops into my mouth, and I say it even before I know what I'm saying. And I muscle test like lightning fast, right? So sometimes it'll just pop out of my mouth. It's like, oh, neat, thanks guys, and I'll thank my angels and thank my guides for helping me out. Okay, so that is one important piece of information you can do some healing around, and please let me know what your results are wherever you see this video. If you want to, first of all, subscribe to the video if you're on YouTube, but also post below any comments, what you've tested for yourself, how that felt. If you noticed a difference, it'd be really great and helpful for everyone else. The second important thing I wanted to share with you is about our light body or crystalline body. Now, I got to be perfectly honest, a lot of the vernacular of ascension, light body, crystalline body, there's lots of great blogs and articles and even books about it, and honestly, I'm not terribly familiar with all these definitions. I have to look them up, but what happens is that when I'm doing testing, a word will drop in, and I don't even know why it drops in, but I'll test it, and I'll test it to be true, and then I have to look up what it means. That's how it works. So I've been, the last couple of videos in the Spiritual Medicine Digest, I've been talking about doing kind of a quick healing method where you can heal, different parts of yourself. And if you're very empathic, you can go to heal the other people, places, and things that you might be feeling in your body, and that helps you symptomatically. And usually I can get this done in about 5 minutes for myself. So as I was doing one of these very quick countdown kinds of healings where, last week I talked about the point and heal method. So it'd be like, okay, how many things can I heal from the pineal gland? And my intention, I'm talking about myself and alternate selves and so on and so forth. So how many things can I heal from the pineal gland? Count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get a muscle test, get a yes, then I command that healed. And then we just go to different parts of my body, and do the countdown testing there. And what was fascinating was it's one of those cases where something blurted out of my mouth as I'm going through the countdown method in different parts of my body, like my thyroid, parathyroid. My parathyroids seem to have things to heal. The left side of my neck, where I have on x-ray months ago had some early stages of age-related changes. So I thought, I'll check that. And my lymphatic ports that sometimes get blocked, and my posture isn't the greatest sometimes, so that doesn't help. So I just was doing this, and all of a sudden I blurted out something like, how many things can I heal for my water, meaning that the fluid in my body. And instead of getting the answer 2, 3, 1, which is normally what I'm getting for the other parts that I've been kind of working on lately, I got like 15 or 17 or some huge number like that I could heal, or that we had the opportunity to heal like 15 or 17 different things for the water. And I thought, that is really interesting. So I asked some more questions on it, and what I found out was that there is a system that we're calling now the water communication system that is functioning in my body. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Never heard of this system per se. So I just asked if every human had the system. The answer was no. Not every human has the system. And I said, okay, well, what does the system do, right? So we continued divine muscle testing and asking these questions. And the answer was, after quite a little bit of questioning, was that the water communication system is a way that water is a conduit to communicate specific energetic information from one organ to another in the physical body. What else? Okay, let me see. I actually wrote it down here. Well, maybe I didn't write it down. Okay, so let's see. It was between one organ and another. Oh, yes, and the microbiome. Thank you for the hint, angels. Yes, so, and the water also communicates energetic information from my microbiome to other organs and vice versa. So we have this interesting water communication system, which has literally I've discovered that is there. And the only humans, well, actually aliens have it too, but the only humans and aliens, embodied beings, okay, that have this water communication system are those whose DNA has been recalibrated to the full crystalline structure. Now, this is I talked about this like probably years ago in a Spiritual Medicine Digest. But the ascension process, we commonly call ascensions, where the universal energies are expanding, getting higher and higher and higher vibration, that this naturally causes, unless we're resisting it with, our emotions or mental state or whatever, causes our DNA to mature to a higher resonance. The DNA is like an antenna, a Tesla coil, if you will. A tesseract, so it resonates, and as we evolve, ideally, the DNA becomes almost like a crystalline form. It acts like a crystal, a high vibrational crystal. And there was a time where, when we were recalibrating our DNA to the crystalline form, that we were having some symptoms around that. Now, a lot of people have already recalibrated their crystalline DNA, especially highly sensitive people, souls, people in my tribe. It's already done. So the crystalline DNA gets recalibrated, and then the body, the light body, gets completely activated. So I'm just going to read off the definition of the light body, because the only people that have this water communication system are people whose light bodies are completely activated, and their DNA is completely recalibrated to the crystalline state, which is true of me, apparently. So let me read you a couple of definitions from the web here. This is from celestialwellspring.com. The light body, sacred geometry activation. Your light body is a grid work of light and sacred geometry that brings together your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual being. This body radiates light energy and electromagnetically links your multi-dimensional self with the infinite universe. Okay, here's something else on Wiki Ask. Oh, actually, this isn't Wiki, sorry. What is a crystalline light body? So this is from vilma.com, vilmma.com. And this says, crystalline light body. Magnificent crystalline light body is now available to you to integrate it here in your life on Earth. Free crystalline body is expanding out and around the basic light body. Evolution of consciousness, biological, mental evolution is expanded in the crystalline body. So let's see, what else? Crystalline energy. The crystalline energy, what is that? It's the energy of light and love, which means that anything that is not in alignment with love and with your higher self will gradually wash away. Crystalline energy is an omnipotent power source that has implications reaching beyond humanity's current understanding. Yeah, for sure. And so, you know, some people talk about the Merkaba in their bodies, which is a multi-dimensional crystalline structure that rotates in your body and the whole bit. And I actually have not trained in, you know, Merkaba breathing or, you know, any of Drumvalu's various different trainings. I just came through it in a completely, you know, different way. But if you've been following me for a while, you know that I have a Lemurian past. So I was a healer in Lemurian in one of my past lives. So I think my past self probably knew more about this than I can consciously remember in this timeline. And when I asked God about, you know, are we always going to require water as a communication system or an energetic communication system in this, in the human body? The answer, well, I didn't say in the human body when I asked. I said, are we always going to need to use this system? The answer was no. And I said, will we evolve out of the system? The answer was yes. And when I said, is that, you know, when we're still human? And the answer was no. So in other words, that we will evolve out of using water as this communication conduit or system when we are no longer embodied in a human body. We will become pure light. And I think there's probably a stage, I can't guarantee you for sure, but I think there's a stage where we can choose form or not be in form, which would be pretty exciting, you know. You know, you could have a lot of fun with that. You could one day decide you wanted to look like Jessica Rabbit, you know, and, you know, have big boobs or something just for fun, you know. I give that example because I read this in one of the books of, you know, after people have died and they've interviewed people that have died, and basically they say, hey, yeah, you know, when now I'm not talking about when I'm dying. I'm talking about when we're still living in a light body. But I read in a book where people had died, and the medium was talking to them across the veil, and they were just saying, hey, you know what, I can choose to be 8 years old one day, you know, because I don't have a body, so I can kind of make up whatever I want to look like. And then I don't know why the thought popped up, it'd be really funny to look like Jessica Rabbit. Do you know Jessica Rabbit? Roger Rabbit's wife. Anyway, okay. Yeah, if you don't know that cartoon, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. So anyway, that is the very exciting news that I have for you today. So when you do your countdown healing on various different parts of your body, the point and heal method that I talked about last time in Topican Healing, you can ask, how many things can I heal from my water? You know, meaning the water in your body. Now you can specifically talk about lymph or blood or whatever, but I just said water, you know, and there were a whole bunch of things that could heal. It'll be interesting to see how, you know, that affects the body, because sometimes I'll have like chronic things pop up again in my body, and then I'll discover something new, and then they kind of, you know, go away for a while until there's something else new to discover. And I think the way life works, I know Greg Braden said this on his Missing Links show, is that the more we look, the more we're going to find, because I think looking is a form of creation in some ways. So that's pretty interesting to think about as well. So announcement for this week's Spiritual Medicine Digest is on Monday. at 12 noon Eastern. I'm going to replay a radio show on Light Warrior Radio between me and the amazing Dr. Bruce Lipton. So Dr. Bruce Lipton is a specialist in epigenetics, and he's a cell biologist who discovered that if you take the exact same kind of cells and you put them in different environments, that they can completely act differently. So if you put stem cells in different environments, the stem cells can turn into different kinds of cells based on the environment you put it in, the petri dish, you know. And so this is I loved this interview. And it's really about how we can change our genes and what the genes do based on the environment that we feed ourselves with. And that's not just, we're not just talking about food or water and those kinds of things, but our emotions, hugely important, our thoughts, you know, what are we feeding ourselves? So with a thought or an emotion, you can change how DNA actually structures itself. And they've seen this in multiple different kinds of experiments. So so join the replay on Monday at 12 noon with Dr. Bruce Lipton. I think this is very, very important work. That if I say epigenetics and you don't know what that is or don't know what that really means, then you really need to listen to this show, because this is the newest science, even though it's like 50 years old, but it's not like meaning that no, actually he's not that old, is he? Anyway, so not 50 years old, but that's quantum physics. I'm talking about, you know, the new science in cell biology that's a few decades old, that is not yet permeated into our medical schools and our high schools or even college level in a lot of ways. So you have to get this information elsewhere. So if you think that genes are king and that you have bad genes because, you know, your parents had diabetes and their parents had diabetes or heart disease or whatever, then you really need to understand epigenetics, at least on this basic level, because how you treat your body, how you eat, how you self-care, how you think, how you manage your emotions will change the way your DNA acts. And in twin studies, you can literally be, you know, you can be a exact twin, but one can have a disease and be blind and be in a wheelchair, and the other can be perfectly healthy at the same age. So it's about nature versus nurture, right? Nurture is actually more important. So join me and Dr. Bruce Lipton for that. So the link to the show is below this video, and you can also find it by joining my website and getting on my mailing list at karencan.com. So super exciting stuff this week, and I look forward to being back home next week for the next video. And until then, lots of love and have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye for now, and aloha.